go back to that. Let's go back to my, let's go back to Service Day, because I was in the restaurant business. I don't know, unbeknownst to some of you don't realize, but I was in a restaurant for 18, maybe 19 years. I was coming home, unbeknown to me that this would be one of the things I would be doing in civilian life. I was aboard ship coming home, and they assigned me to a bakery department. The lieutenant came up to me and says, "Hey, Pasqualetto," being Italian, "can you make pizza?" I said, "No, yeah, but..." "Oh, okay." But unbeknown, he says, "What?" I said, "Look, I'm going to need this. They had everything. They had everything. You didn't have to, I didn't have to worry about whether they had all the ingredients. And I made pizzas for 16 days because it took that length of time to come home. I made pizzas. So anyways, I got through with that, came home. I had written to my dad previous to that, and I had said to him that I'm not too certain whether I'm going back to school or whether I might go into some sort of a business. This man, remember that, he's here in California. He's 65, retired. I'm home in Mass with my wife, and we're planning to go to Florida for about a 7-day vacation. He calls me up and he says, "I'd like to have you back down here about this coming Friday." He called me something like a Monday or something. I said, "I can't make it. I got my air freight. I'm going to be going." He says, "I understand." He says, "Be here by Friday." He went on and on and on. Now here we go. Mother got involved. "Frank, please accommodate him." My sister got involved. "Please, Frank, accommodate him." And guess who else got involved? My wife got involved, because my wife and him were extremely close. Dad thought of her as his other daughter. So she was willing to relinquish that vacation. Let's go and see what Dad wants. Let's go and do it. Anyways, we got down here. We got here on a Friday. We celebrated the fact I got out of the service. We got drunk for 3 days. And it wasn't until Monday morning I asked him, "Where and what am I doing here that you made me give up my vacation?" He says, "Do me a favor, let's take a ride." We took a ride. We went to a Wheeler's real estate up there on Foothill in Indian. I signed a lease. And I said, "What am I signing?" He said, "You just became a restaurateur, or whatever you want to call me." I was in the restaurant business. 18 years. The restaurant was a capacity of 175 people. That is not a small restaurant. That's a humongous restaurant. I couldn't boil water, hired a chef. The only thing we did, and by the way, getting to my pizza thing, I made a menu. I had a menu which was strictly Mama's cooking, the meatball, the sausage, and all the spaghetti and everything, the pasta. And I put pizza down at the bottom of the menu, thinking that that would not be a big seller. You know why? When I was here in California, they called pizza pizza. They didn't call it pizza. There was no pizza out here. Today you can buy one in the drugstore if you want. But today it was pizza. Anyways, we went through that. I had it down here, and then I moved it up a little bit because it got a little more action, and a little more action, a little more action. I eventually winded up buying what they call a hospital type oven, which is a rotisserie. You can cook 30, 35 pizzas at one time. I lasted, as I said, 18, 19 years. My daughters were beginning to call me Frank instead of Dad, because that's the kind of business you're in. You got to understand it. It's 24 hours, 28 hours, whatever it is. Okay, then after that, I gave that up, and Joe was anxious to find out if I was burying people. And by the way, I'm 1 year older than Joe. Joe is 1 year younger than me. And we've known each other, what, 38 years since we've been in Rotary?
38 this December.
This December.
Frank,
I got out of...
What was the name of your restaurant?
Mateo's, exactly the same. Mateo's.
That's all
Same.
right.
It's up there in Foothill and Central Avenue.
Right. Go there all the time.
I had fed half a Claremont, and the other half was waiting to get in the door. By the way, it's interesting, we used to have a police officer stand by because the capacity of 175 was full. You couldn't put any more people there. And so we did a good job. We did an excellent job. And I'm proud of that 18, 19 years. Don't ask me why I got out of it, but I'm proud of that 18, 19 years. When I retired from there, I had to do something. I didn't want a job. I didn't want a job that said you report at a certain time and you leave at a certain time. I wanted something that I could be sort of self-employed. I want a position that I said, if I sell it, I make money. If I don't sell it, I don't make money. If I want to go in, I go in. I don't want to go in. What happened was, my brother ran across my brother ran across a gentleman who was selling cemetery property. And he says, Frank, maybe you might be interested in something like this. He says, it's your hours, your time. You can go in and do please. You can sell as you want, see what you want to do. But I says, I never, cemetery property. God, it's an ugly. Oh, cemetery property. How the heck you sell cemetery property? Anyways, I took the challenge by talking to the manager. The manager says, hey, you're doing okay, you'll be all right. Went through training. Had a fabulous training period of time, which was approximately 2 months. Made a lot of money from there. I liked it. I thought it was great. Of course, I wasn't going to just stand still for that.
Clients never complain, right?
Every one of them went down very nicely. And that's interesting, though. You know, Jose, everybody in the past, including some of the Rotarians in the past, always thought I worked for a mortuary, and I had nothing. I never went into the mortuary. However, there was an office in there that occasionally I would visit a VP maybe or do something like that. Or some of my people would turn around and commit an infraction and I had to go down there and put the fire out or something like that. But after I was with Forest Farm for about 3 or 4 months, I kind of liked the idea of saying, well, maybe I want to become a trainer. Maybe I want to do that. I like the way the trainers did it. But I told this VP, I said, I want to become a trainer. They took that, thought about it, said, well, we'll get back to you. I got a call one day, and he says, well, we do have a training position open, but we're going to bypass you. Don't let that bother you, we're bypassing you. That's fine. I was only in the company maybe no more than 8 months, maybe 9 months. I really didn't expect it to get it that soon anyway, so I was in there. They bypassed me. A month and a half later, they said, we'd rather have you become a manager than a trainer. So I got a double promotion. I went from representative to managing the staff and people. My first office was in Temple City. It was the ugliest office you can possibly have. Scary as hell. The room was all blue. There was not a window there. The only thing I had was a phone with a bunch of buttons, a secretary, which I don't want to mention any more about that. And any of it, they hand me a key. You are a manager. You have a staff of approximately 3. I had 6, maybe 7 people. Half of them was in the local bar across the street, and the other half was home getting sober. Well, it was a losing battle for that particular office. I took the time to rebuild it. I rebuilt it by hiring new people. In fact, my first gal that I hired was a black gal by the name of Zebra Crow. I tell you, she was the most. She kept me straight. She was that very, very strong. But I loved her from day one until she passed away. She was a beautiful person. I didn't like it there at all. I was very disillusioned. I didn't know what to do. My wife says to me, well, hang in there. Why don't you just wait until things get better? I said, no, I don't think I'm going to wait until I get better. I don't like this thing. So I one day mentioned it to my VP, I don't like my office, and he said, well, then move. Oh. So I decided, well, maybe it's time for me to move. Okay, I didn't realize they're going to move. They would pay for another office. That's when I met this guy over there. I went to his office the way I was upstairs, he was downstairs. I had rooms up there, but they were not big enough quarters. After a while, I began to hire an awful lot of people. And in the course of 30 years, I've been with them, in the course of 29, 30 years, I became manager of the year at least 2 or 3 times or something like that. And it was an honor. Fabulous company. I will stick up for them. What I was doing and what we all did, yes, it does what it should do. It's a form of protection. Buying cemetery property is not an ideal thing, but it is. You know, all of us buy insurances for one reason, is to protect ourselves. We don't want to use it. I don't want to use any of my insurance, but I want it in case something happens. And the same thing applies in cemetery property. They are a good company. They do what they say they do. They're a service company. And that was my career. I was in the restaurant business. I was in the cemetery. I fed them and I buried them. But not really. I never buried anybody. I did help. You know, it's interesting. You know, speak of it. The department we're talking about pre-need, buying it ahead of time type. We had 2 Rotarians here who had passed away that I helped their wives, assist their wives. Actually, I held their hand. I never helped them. I did nothing more than held their hand per se. One of them was a guy by the name of Bernie Bregman. I think you know Bernie.
No.
Oh, Mr. If somebody walked in here and said, "Where's Bernie?" But as he followed the smoke, he somewhere there. Bernie had one cigarette in this hand, and this one's waiting to be lit. And he killed himself primarily, as far as I'm concerned. I helped his wife make just some decisions, but I wouldn't make any for her. I only simply said, she said, "What do you think of this?" That's your decision. "What do you think of that?" I said, "That's your decision." Because you got to remember, this is everlasting. She doesn't need to come back and say, "I wonder if I should have did this, I wonder if I should have done that." In both cases, Vaughn Bisnell, is it? The clothing guy, yeah. He's also buried up there too, and his wife was pretty sharp. She knew she knew what to do. She knew everything else. It was Bernie's wife. Now here's a man, and let's get back to Bernie for a minute. Here's a man that if you talked about the cemetery with me, and he was sitting at my table, he would get upset. Please, don't ask Frank any questions. I don't want to hear about it. And he was just that kind of a guy. He was scared of. I'm scared too. I don't want to die. You want to die? I don't. Nobody wants to die, really. But that's one thing we're guaranteed, though. Any questions? Anybody want to add to that? Even anything else?
Yeah, Frank?
Yes, go ahead. What's that? How far?
You said not to ask you why you got out of the restaurant business, so I'm asking you, why'd you get out of the restaurant business?
Well, you know, we don't have as much time. More do I have? There's a variety of good reasons. One of them, I think, Art nodded his head when he says, you know, that's true. He always was getting to me, and like I mentioned to you before, pizza, or pies as they call it, became very competitious. Everybody in the cousins had it. Always, you had change popping up, you had this, you had popping up and everything. And I didn't want that stress anymore. And so I decided, hey, and by the way, do I regret it? No. I'm glad I'm out of it. I'm glad am I happy when I had it? Oh, I loved every bit of it.
Yeah.
I made $1.5 bushels worth of money. I had a very good, jolly good time with it. I mean, it wasn't 18 years. If you make 18 months, you're doing good. 18 years is a long, long time. Yes, second question, yes.
Yeah, Frank, when you were working for Forest Lawn, could you sell plots at any of the Forest Lawns?
Yes.
So that people, you weren't just talking about the cemetery up here, you're talking about all of them.
Any one of them. They had, now they have one in Palm Springs now, a Cathedral City now. They've had, at the time I was there, they had 4. Huh? Yeah. The one up here, just for your information,